Okay, we're back for more Honkai Impact 3. I'm so left behind because I'm so busy at Genshin. I got too caught up on it and played it for almost 3 days straight. And it's Thursday morning already. At 1 a.m. to be exact. Stop talking. Alright, let's get right into it. Do you think you're now ready to tell me, Dr. Einstein? What is this OM2 that Mr. Joyce had been tracing these years? I lean forward while the blue-haired lady on the other side of the table is impassively staring at me in the eye. Moments later, she let out a deep sigh. And if she just decided to give up something important. You won, Doctor. What I'm about to tell you is the biggest secret of Lab 42 of Schicksal Imperial Institute. I trust you, but please don't put me in certain circumstances that requires me to take drastic measures. I'm confident about my ability to keep secrets. You don't have to worry about that. To be honest, I'm surprised and flattered that you agreed to reveal this secret to me without much hesitation. So many people have died. I had no other choice. And I'd like to know what secrets are hidden behind this incident too. In that case, I'm all ears. Do you know that Welt used to be an assistant at Lab 42? Of course, everyone knows. But what do you think about his past before he joined Lab 42? Now that she mentioned it, I just realized that there is no intel about Welt Joy's past. It's because of the Institute's strict intel control measures. Welt used to be the Institute top secret sample before he was transferred to Lab 42. Sample? Yes, sample for an experiment. Codename OM1. OM1. You don't need to know his real identity. I can't reveal it anyway, but I can tell you the OM2 what has been tracing were the only 2 copies of OM1 that the Institute had successfully made back when Welt served as the sample. The only 2 copies? Wait a second. Does that mean Joffrey? You're indeed incisive, Doctor. Yes, the boy whom you just met is one of the 2 copies. Who'd have thought this is what the direct descendant really means? Descendant. But unfortunately, those 2 boys did not get Welt's powers. Don't mind that. In short, as they failed to meet expectation, the Institute decided to dispose of OM2. Upon learning of this, Welt intervened with the influence of Lab 42 and managed to protect one of them at last. But the other one went missing ever since. I see. So Mr. Joyce acquired the intel that this missing OM2 was last seen in Saint Fountain. Unfortunately, when he acquired the intel, the catalysm already struck. So he led Lab 42 to Saint Fountain, not just to fight against the disaster, but also to investigate the whereabouts of OM2. Correct. Out informant in the Institute told us the cause of the catalysm had something to do with a certain experiment. But we couldn't find any records of the participants and details of the experiment. So that's why the Institute hired outsiders to conduct the experiment. What did you say? Knock knock. Aye. There was a timely knock on the door. It's open. I ended up this conversation before Dr. Einstein could ask any more questions. Oops, am I interrupting you too? What's wrong, Elaine? I just came to inform you that Sora just woke up. Oh no. Oh no. I forgot about Silly. No. When I saw Sora, Joffrey was sitting by her bed. To my surprise, it was his stepsister Bronya who was with him rather than Dr. Tesla. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Bronya. Where's Dr. Tesla? She is still studying the data about the Phantom, but Joey wants to check in on Sora. Bronya, there's something I'd like to talk about with the doctor. Can you take Joffrey somewhere else for a minute? Sure. Come on, Joey. Joffrey took Bronya's hand and they went out together. Seeing this made me begin to doubt my assumption. From what I saw, they were as close as siblings with blood ties. Can't imagine she came to fight for the inheritance. Joachim told me Bronya cared deeply about a little girl in the orphanage, but she didn't make it in the disaster. Wait, what? Silly died? Joey's true identity cannot be known, and he's been really weak that walking was impossible for him until recently. It's the first time Bronya has seen him in 5 years. Maybe she was reminded of some fond memories. Sora, how do you feel? Sir, I'm much better now. Sora's eyes were dull, her voice weak, and her face washed by tears. Apparently, she had learned Raven's death. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions? She nodded softly, and I pulled a chair close to her bed to sit down. Could you tell me what happened last night from the blackout until now? Alright, but I can't remember some of it, and I had this weird dream. It's okay, just tell me what you still remember. Last night, after the blackout, I felt someone grab me from behind. I screamed and tried to break free, but then something hit me in the head and I passed out. Oh, look at her. Fuck you, Black Serpent. Grey Serpent. Sorry. And then, I don't know how long had passed, but I was somewhere else when I woke up. A small alley, I think. My hands and feet were all tied up. I tried to scream for help, but my mouth was stuffed with rock. I struggled to get up and look around, and then I saw him. He was in a black cloak, and his face was behind the mask. He just stood there in the rain, and he didn't say anything. I wanted to ask him who he was, why he took me, but my head was swimming and I couldn't see clearly, and Sora was frowning and wrestling with her memory. I waited quietly for her to continue. And then, he took out a knife and began to wipe it. One swipe, 2, 3. My mind wanted to escape, but my head was so dizzy and all I could think of was sleep. Dizzy? Grey Serpent drug her? No, I ran a brief test on her last night and no residuals of anesthetic chemicals was found. After a while, this man finished wiping the knife and turned to me. I was scared to death, but I couldn't even scream loud. He walked up to me and lifted his knife. I held my breath for what came next. And just then, Sensei, she showed up. Oh, so she made it just in time. Sora nodded and then looked away, keeping her tearful face from us. Sensei, she saved me. She fought the masked man hard. I never saw her so angry. Then what? What did you see after? The masked man was losing and Sensei knocked him down. Sora's recall had matched my assumption so far, but it was her next word that really mattered. Who killed your sensei and wrote the word in blood? I didn't see. I fell asleep. Oh, shit. Asleep? After Sensei beat down the bad guy, she walked to me. Once I knew we were safe, I couldn't hold back the sleepiness any longer. My eyelids became heavier and heavier. When did you wake up? Just right now in this room. Bronya was taking care of me. She told me, Sensei, I can't remember anything before. Nothing at all? No, but I had a weird dream when I was asleep. Dream? What kind of dream? In the dream, I became someone else, a girl dressed in blue. Oh, it's silly. This is uncanny. Right when we found Jackal's body, I seemed to have seen a girl in blue too. The girl seemed very sad and I started to feel sad too. The girl, did she do anything to you? No, in the dream I was her. I saw a man holding my hand in the pouring rain, but I couldn't see his face clearly. He kept saying, but I couldn't understand. He kept saying something, but I couldn't understand. It's just a bad dream. Right, doctor? The moment I wanted to comfort her, I was struck by a violent dizziness. It was not the first time. When I opened my eyes again, Sora, Iraine, and Dr. Einstein were all gone. All I could see was an azure shadow. It's silly. So fragile. Find me. Stop it. The girl in blue whispered so, and then I became her. Oh no. Is this the afterlife? Oh fuck you! Come here, you black gray serpent. You're lucky. You leaving? Of course, I've done my part and got paid. No reason for me to linger. Stay and witness history. History? What's that have to do with me? Heh, still the Raven I know. Is that all? Wow, Jackal, you're... that height. Jackal, what did you do to Joffrey? Easy now, Joshim. Joffrey's modification and debugging are almost done. Testing is in on order now. But he's just a kid. Keep your researchers cool. He's just a test subject, a means to achieve the end. Jackal and Joachim? Jackal looks like pretty much the same, but Joachim seems a lot younger. They seem to be fighting over Joffrey. Joffrey. Why would this name come up here? Uh-oh. Oh, Bronya. It's Bronya. Hi, Bronya. Recollecting the moment. Shh. I think Joey is not getting treatment. We can't trust anyone from the church, not even Mr. Joachim. Don't worry, I'll keep you both safe. Sorry. Joey, are you alright? They say I'm sick and it's bad. Is it true, Mr. Joachim? You're not sick. Trust me, everything will be fine. Sick. What happened to him? It's the recollecting of the... Whoa! It's mind blowing. Who the fuck is that? Oh, it's mind blowing. Oh. I was there once again. Only this time it became much realistic. I opened my palms and found two small soft hands which clearly belonged to the unnamed girl. Had no doubt. What I just saw was something about the test that took place 5 years ago. But why? Why would this strange memory come to me? Whose memory is this? If it's the girl who is sharing it with me, then what purpose is it for? With a million questions, I slowly walked to the azure shadow in the darkness. The rose is red, the violet is blue. You will die in a horrible way. Sucking my dick. Mary is sweet, and so are you. The rose is red, and Mary is blue. We were deceived, and so are you. She never turned around to face me, only singing this familiar nursery rhyme again and again in a weeping voice. I picked up my pace trying to catch up, but the harder I tried, the further she got away, and all of a sudden, I was cast out of from this dream world. Wow. And the title of the anime? If. Doctor! Doctor! Dr. Einstein's voice became clearer. I exhaled deeply as if I just woke up from a nightmare. What just happened? You froze all of a sudden, and then you abruptly stood up and opened the window, muttering to yourself. I still clearly remember everything I saw in the dream, and I'm almost sure it's a hint left to me by someone. Wait, a hint? I'm instantly lost in sight despite my remaining shivers and the astonishment of the ladies. The rose is red, the violet is blue. Mary is sweet, and so are you. The rose is red, and Mary is blue. We were deceived, and so are you. 2 days ago, we found Welt murdered in his room. The poem in the letter you received was copied from the crime scene. So you think it might be a message left by Mr. Joyce? Yes. The girl in blue in the dream was humming the same poem as the only message left at the death scene of Welt. But aside the content of the poem, if this message was not originally written by Welt, then I thought of Welt's note that I found in his room. But there are some strange words scribbled in the margin, which seem to be written down absentmindedly. It's been going on for a month. I think it's time to rule out mental fatigue. The psychiatrist can't figure out why either. Why do I keep having the same dream? Why do I keep seeing that girl? And why is she always so mournful? The girl in blue. If what Welt and I had experienced was that the girl is trying to send a certain message. You froze all of a sudden, and then you abruptly stood up and opened the window, muttering to yourself. Yeah, I remember the window was open. I'm having shivers, sorry. I don't know, but we only heard Welt's voice outside the door, which was why we thought he was making a phone call. Welt must be in a dream when he was killed by Grey Serpent, who happened to sneak in at that time. But who stabbed Grey Serpent? In Welt's room, there was another wounded man lying on the floor. A dagger, which might be the one that killed Welt, was sticking in the man's back. Leave aside the motive. There's something unusual about the wound on Grey Serpent's back. I've checked it. It's a fatal heart injury. There's no way he could lurk around for days and fight a former mercenary to death. The degree of decomposition suggests that he's been dead for several days, which means Grey Serpent presumably died at the same time as Welt. But exactly who killed him? And how did a corpse murder Jackal and kidnap Sora? The biggest question is, what is the message that the girl in blue has been trying to send? I thought of what I just saw in the dream. It was a girl's memory of an experiment happened 5 years ago. Joachim was arguing with Jackal, the researcher in charge of the experiment. Raven had received her remuneration and was about to leave. And Bronya seemed to have found out something. She was keeping a watchful eye on Joachim. In that dream, I was that girl. Wait, I was her? I believe I'm on the verge of discovering something that is too unreal to be noticed. You froze all of a sudden and then you abruptly stood up and opened the window, muttering to yourself. So when I was in the dream, my body was actually moving in reality. If I was that girl in the dream, then who was being me in reality? It's indeed a wild guess, but it was true. Then the message left by Grey Serpent's undead corpse, and the world written with blood, these puzzle pieces could form a pattern. No, cool yourself down, Conan Doyle. You're so close, but there's something more in that hint. If it was If it was really that girl who was controlling my body, then the action of opening the window must mean something. With this thought, I took a deep breath and looked out the window. I see. Sora. What's wrong, Doctor? Before you came to Saint Fountain, do you or anyone around you use perfume of grow flowers? I don't think so. Sensei had been taking good care of us, but we couldn't afford that. Thank you. That's very helpful. Dr. Einstein, could you please help me find something for me from the Institute's database? The Institute's database? Einstein nodded in surprise. As long as it's not classified, what do you want to know? Relax, I just need a roll of the victims in the catalyst. Murder. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is it? Doctor's right. The incision on the body could only have been made by someone much shorter. We can't let her know this. It's too cruel for a child. Oh, wait. Okay. This is my only guess because when I was in the Conan was saying if he is in the dream world, then Silly is taking over Conan Doyle's body and like manipulating. So I believe the word revenge written on besides Raven was Silly's doing. She uses the body of the girl. She uses the body of Sora, then killed. No. So Silly controlling Sora, and Sora was controlling. I was on the dream world, so Silly manipulating Sora killed Raven and wrote the word rage. Oh my god, I hope I'm right. We are in an empty utility room in the underground lab of the mansion, which is now a bit crowded due to the 3 corpses lying side by side. Have you checked Mr. Joyce's body in the treatment room next door? Yes, I have. It's indeed him, and I've checked all vital signs. He's dead for real. I'm curious. Did you already suspect Sora before you visited her today? There's a simple guess based on the position of the scarlet bird on the wall. It was almost level with Raven's head, who died sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall. An adult of normal height would need to bend over or squat down to write the word, which would not be a comfortable posture for writing. But the word was obviously written smoothly, which means the writer of the word was likely to be the same height as a child, and there happened to be a child on the scene. It's common sense, not a law, so it cannot be used as evidence in legal procedure. You're witty as ever, Doctor. Though the say though the process of your reasoning followed facts and common sense, the deduction you've reached sounds. I agree with Miss Adler. Your deduction this time is just by what? Implausible? Impossible. I don't know. Implausible. Do you think the perpetrator of the serial killer is a phantom? I'm not sure. Wha? Those who doubt always try to fit their own guesses into facts, but I deduce from facts and see if my deductions fit. This is what I have deduced from the facts known to us. As I talked, I bent over and sniffed Grey Serpent's body. So I was right after all. I think we can skip the reasoning and directly identify the murderer, but I need you to help me with something first. Wow, that's a beautiful screenshot. The air is filled with a delicate floral scent. Yes, this is the source of the scent. I'm standing in the yard in front of the mansion, sniffing at the fragrance of rosemary. A man is carefully pruning next to me. I didn't know you were interested in flowers too, Doctor. Oh, I have learned some basic botany from professional reasons. Rosemary stems are lignified quickly. Too much pruning may harm the growth of new foliage, so it's best not to trim off more than half of a stem overall length at one time. I'm sorry if I'm skipping other words because I love it. And what you're doing is textbook pruning, Mr. Joachim. These plants must be well tended in the past 5 years. I see you are very proud of your endless erudition. Heard the complacency in your tone. Joachim responded without even looking up. I raised an eyebrow. You seem to have a distaste for me, Mr. Joachim. Distaste. I just hope you can do you. I just hope you can do your job properly. I believe that's do your job properly. Doctor, I don't want to see Bronya worried and scared. It's your duty to find the murderer and put an end to these horrors. Are you sure you can afford wasting time here? In my defense, I am doing my job here right now. What? I directly approached Joachim, clutched his wrist, and whispered to him. You know who the murderer is from the very beginning, don't you? I don't know what you're talking about, but now I know Dr. Einstein shouldn't have trusted you with this case. His breathing was steady and his pulse did not quicken, so I decided to drop another bomb. She is here, isn't she? The second bomb has obviously caused damage. Joachim's body quivered. His hand seems to have been frozen on the rosemary stems. I can tell that he is trying too hard to calm himself down. I don't understand a thing you said, Doctor, but you're making me uncomfortable. It's alright. All the patches will clear up soon. I let go of his wrist and took a look at my watch. It's about time. Come with me, please. Let's settle this matter once and for all. Okay. Please be silly. Okay. I'm getting shivers. Not because of the cold, because of this story. When I step into the hall. Wait. Okay. Everyone was present except Hua and the bedridden Sora. Doctor, I've gathered everyone here as you requested. Thank you, Dr. Einstein. I scanned around, passing through everyone's face before I cleared my throat. Hey, is it you found the murderer? Expert Snoop. Ahem. Well, Dr. Tesla, how about you? Call me something else? How about you call something else? Whatever, stop holding it up and just tell us who it is. Sure. The conclusion is Grey Serpent killed Mr. Joyce, but he was not responsible for the other 3 murders. And I presume it is someone among us then, Doctor? Yes, but we'll get to the part later. First, let's look at how Mr. Welt Joyce was murdered. After all, this is the very reason I'm here now. Dr. Einstein, may I? As Dr. Einstein nodded in constant, I went over what I was going to say in my head. It's all started 5 years ago, if not any early. Mr. Joyce had 2 lineal descendants. One is Joey and the other one went missing years ago. Let's just call the other one Ohm2, 5 years ago. The catastrophic event hit Saint Fountain and Love 42 came for relief. This was just an appearance. What Mr. Joyce truly wished to find out was the test that caused the disaster and Ohm2. Every sign leads to the fact that the high-ups of the church had hand in the test, but no record was left. Naturally, according to Raven, no one from the church was directly involved. The tests were led by Jackal. Grey Serpent was the material supplier. Raven handled the delivery of materials. Oh, what a team they make. Wait, what do you mean by materials? I think you know Jackal better than me. It wasn't the first time for her to meddle with human subjects. That's ridiculous. If she took in a lot of human subjects, how could she get away with it, with unwanted attention? I believe you noticed Dr. Tesla. Dr. Tesla. Back then, in Saint Fountain, there was a place to take in orphans legitimately. Joshim, is it true? You were managing the church just for this atrocious business? Tesla anger silenced the whole hall. Everyone held their breath and looked to the same person. Joachim pursed his lip and slowly closed his eyes. Dr. Tesla, it must be a mistake. Mr. Joachim, I know, it is indeed a mistake. I asked Raven about Mr. Joachim's role in the test. She told me he was kept in the dark all along, right until the city was turned into ruins. But can we take her words for it? I believe yes. Raven confessed after she saw Mr. Joyce's notes, which pointed out Mr. Joyce was onto Grey Serpent. The test on human subjects led to Saint Fountain's fall. Once revealed, the truth will crucify everyone involved. So Grey Serpent acted first and killed Welt. This explains Grey Serpent's motive. Wait, I'm getting my blanket. I'm getting shivers. Goosebumps. I'm so excited. Check my theory earlier, and this is my after Jackal's death and Sora's kidnap, Raven becomes sure Grey Serpent meant to silence everyone involved. She made the confession knowing she'd probably die in Grey Serpent's hands. I don't think she had any reason to lie. I was there too, and I believe she was telling the truth. No, wait. I'm not sure I'm following. The test that caused the catastrophe and Grey Serpent's motive. I got this part. But Chochim, you knew what was after all these years. Why did you keep your mouth shut? What the hell is your plan? Tut. Dr. Tesla, I believe Mr. Joachim will give us a convincing explanation himself. But before that, let's return to the case itself. The killer of Jackal and Grey Serpent and Raven is still among us. Who is the imposter? What? But to follow what you just told us, Grey Serpent killed Welt, Jackal and kidnapped Sora. Raven then killed him to save Sora at the cost of her life. That explains everything, right? No, you shut the fuck up. It's a fine story, but I believe you left out something important. I don't know how to pronounce that. Wait, I'm searching. I am back. It's pronounced Raha. Sorry, for all my who will watch this, it's pronounced Raha, not Rish. Sorry. Raha, the blood writing. Sorry. It's pronounced Raha. From my past videos, sorry. Yes, what I'm about to say sound far-fetched, so I'd like to begin with 2 murders after Mr. Joyce. In normal circumstances, Dr. Tesla's explanation makes perfect sense. If not for the blood writings. Raha means revenge in German. If it was Grey Serpent, he apparently didn't kill for revenge. On the other hand, if the writing was merely a distraction, then why didn't we see it near Mr. Joyce's body? True. Dr. Tesla and Einstein said when they found Mr. Joyce, Grey Serpent was also there, with a knife on his back. But when they got Mr. Joyce to the emergency room and returned, Grey Serpent was gone. I examined Grey Serpent's body firsthand, trying to get an answer. The back wound went to the heart, a fatal blow. And the wound had rotted so much that it's safe to say he died exactly around the time of Mr. Joyce's death. What? Which means a corpse rose from the dead and killed Jackal and Raven before it was finally put to rest. Ow! Wow, what a zombie. That indeed defies everything logical. To begin with, it's hard to imagine all 3 directly involved in the test should show up in Saint Fountain together. Ha! That is hardly a coincidence. The killings were for revenge, and the 3 victims shared one thing in common: the Forsaken test 5 years ago. So all the people here today who has the best reason to see these 3 dead. The hall fell silent after my question. It was more than obvious. Doctor, that's very sound reasoning, but I must say the conclusion is based on the unfounded presumption of guilt. Yes, Bronya and I were victims of the horrendous event 5 years ago, but that doesn't mean we're guilty. And I'd like to remind you, both of us were by your side when the 2 murders took place. You're right. Motive doesn't make you murderer, but there are too many things about you that make no sense. You knew exactly what happened 5 years ago, but you never said anything to Mr. Joyce after joining Lab 42. You knew Jackal was responsible for the tragedy, but you still made her Bronya's governess, not less. You knew more tragedies would follow if they got their hands on Mr. Joyce's legacy, but you still invited them here. Unless, of course, none of them would walk out of the manor alive in your plan. Utter gibberish. Say whatever you want. Everyone here, including yourself, is our alibi. As long as this stands, everything you said is just wild fantasy. I knew it. It would eventually come to this. I said and put the comm link prepared by Dr. Tesla close to my lips. Action speaks louder than words, and that's how I'm going to prove my theory. Hua, how is the preparation going on your side? I'm ready, Doctor. I turned to face the group with a grim look. I'm going to burn every rosemary in the yard. I found surprise look on Dr. Tesla and Bronya's faces, but before they could speak, someone's breakdown came faster. Stop it! You can't do this! Care to explain me why? Dr. Einstein has given her consent. You... Don't worry, Mr. Joachim. Dr. Tesla told me the church was burned down 5 years ago, but the Rosemary survived. It might take Hua some time, but unfortunately, we've prepared enough fuel. It's time for us to find out whether Rosemary truly stands for eternity or not. Just bloody stop it! The hysterical scream came from a man of maturity and refinement. He soon regained calm in everyone's shocked gaze. I confess, I killed Grey Serpent, Jackal, and Raven. Wow! What? What's going on? I'm lost here. I'll leave the details to the murderer himself. And before that, I'm afraid we have to temporarily restrain your freedom, Mr. Joachim. Before I finished my word, Hua had came out of hiding and slowly approached Joachim. It's a trap! A bitter smile floated up Joachim's face. To everyone's surprise, someone small stepped forward in front of him. Don't touch him, Bronya. Miss Zaychik, I know how you feel. Zaychik? Shut up! You know nothing about him or us. All of this is my plan, my revenge. And this is only the beginning. Wait. Oh! Wait. I have to kill her? Oh, I hate that part. I hate that slow motion part. Oh! Dodge that. Oh, dodge that. Eat my fucking dog. Okay, double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap. Come on. Just quit it, Miss Bronya. Your enemies are all gone. You can stop now, Bronya. No, I can't stop. You don't understand. I used to be very grateful to Grey Serpent, who brought me a lowly child soldier back from the battlefield. In the church, I met Celie and Joey, my beloved little sister and brother. For the first time in my life, I felt there was something worth cherishing in the world. But that woman named Jackal, she had been making modifications to all the orphans in the name of treatment. I knew something wasn't right, so I started my own investigation. I thought I had been doing it secretly, but they were still alerted. Raven and Grey Serpent somehow knew my plan to confront Sensei, so they pushed me down the stairs. When I woke up again, I already been sent to one of the Institute's hospital outside St. Fountain. I tried so many times to leave. I wanted to return to Saint Fountain to take Silly and Joey away, but at that time, I hadn't recovered from my leg injury, so all my escapes failed. And one day, I read in the newspaper that the cataclysm occurred in and Saint Fountain had become a dead city. Bronya. Over the years, I've done many investigations with all resources could possibly access. I even used my equipment to lure my enemies. Project Procedure Hercher. This was the name of the experiment. It was to create a powerful seed. How do you pronounce that shit? Herchers by modifying the copies of the first Hercher, Wealth Joyce. How did you know about all this, Bronya? They did those human experiments on the orphans purely out of their sick craving for powers. In the end, the project failed. Saint Fountain was ruined and my little brother became a nameless monster who killed our sister. Wow, the Phantom of Saint Fountain is home too? They all deserve to die. So I used Grey Serpent to kill Jackal, so that I didn't have to get her evil blood on my hands. How did Grey Serpent kill her? Grey Serpent was the next. His first death was an accident, but I didn't want to let him off easy. I was right. Raven once mentioned she was also an orphan taken in by Grey Serpent. It was him who trained her to be a mercenary. So I controlled Grey Serpent to take Sora to have him killed again by his own pupil. As for Raven, she was ridiculously naive as a merciless mercenary. After everything she had done, she started to adopt orphans all of a sudden. I couldn't stop laughing when I heard about that. Trying to go straight and make amends. Huh? No way. Bad people only deserve to die alone in the shadows. Hey, you don't talk to Raven like that. In the previous chapters on the real story, she's a good sensei. She regret all doing bad stuff. So you controlled Sora to kill her. You're indeed incisive, Doctor. The bitterness of being killed by someone she had cared and protected. She must taste it. Just like my sister did. I should have thought of this earlier. I thought the merciless avenger who had been hiding in the dark was Joachim, but I didn't know. You had been holding such violent hatred. Anyway, this should be the end of your revenge. Your enemies are all gone. The end? No, Doctor. You think my revenge is completely after I killed the 3 pawns? Schicksal, the Institute. I know this behemoth is behind all this. When first I realized Schicksal was behind the project, I swore I'd one day erase its entire existence from the world. I opened my mouth but failed to say anything. My usual calmness has been overwhelmed by Bronya's deep resentment. Her obsession with revenge is too intense to be eased by a sense of... So I can't stop now. Bronya gave a cruel smile. She reached out her hand and gently stroked Joachim's cheek. You'll protect me, right, Joffrey? What? Yes, Bronya, my dear big sister. What the fuck? Joachim has a calm look on his face, but I somehow see a trace of craziness on it. The next moment, the deafening roar. A fierce roar comes from nowhere. What the? A hideous monster emerged out of thin air behind Bronya and Joachim. And the next second, the monster took Bronya and Joachim and vanished. You all knew the monster's name, but only Dr. Tesla came back to senses from the shock and said it out loud. It was the Phantom of Saint Fountain. Wait, what? What? Wow, that's a big, big turnaround of the story. What? Joffrey, Joachim is too? I figured out instantly. The Joffrey that Bronya just mentioned is not the timid little boy who follows around Dr. Einstein. But too. If Joachim is too, then what is that phantom? Doctor! Woke me up from my contemplation. What should we do now, Doctor? We have no devices or techniques to track down that phantom. Don't worry about it, Dr. Einstein. It's Bronya and Joachim that we should track, not the phantom. Before we assemble here, I borrowed a tracking device from Dr. Tesla and managed to stick it on Joachim's coat. Ah, was it when you were in the yard? You knew back then that the phantom would come. Of course not. I'm not a physic. Rabbit? Physic? I was just taking precautions to prevent them from running away. The real problem is we don't have any weapons or measures that could hurt the phantom. Even if we could track down Bronya and Joachim, with the phantom around, we couldn't be able to bring them back. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. I've been analyzing the data we collected from the phantom after our encounter with it. The analysis went well, and I made this device based on the result. It can interfere with quantum states. I think it will effectively hurt the phantom if we activate it in the battle. Then let's set off. Time to hunt down Phantom and two little rascals. Big sister Bronya. Nation. St. Fountain Railway Station, the only link the city has with the outside world. With a twist amidst the void, two people and a monster emerge. Thank you, Mr. Joachim. Sorry, this is all my fault. No, Joffrey, Conandel is a very bit as good as his name, and we were caught off guard by his cheap shot. I wonder how he came to know about the Rosemary secret. Maybe not on his own, but with some help from Silly. Enough! How many times must I repeat? She is dead, and whatever is in the flowers is not her. But she'd come to me long ago. What should we do now? Leave St. Fountain and lay low before the time is right for our next move. They've all paid with their blood. The only thing left for us to do is leave. I believe we still have unsettled business here, Miss Zaishik. Huh! Who's there? Phew! Made it. Never thought Dr. Tesla while driving would actually do some good one day. Miss Zaishik, come with us, please. No way you could locate the phantom. Why? She suddenly thought of something and began to search herself. Failing to find what she looked for, she tugged Joachim over and finally found a red dot on the inside of his sleeve. This another cheap shot. Whatever works. Prepare to transfer. However, this time, the phantom could not just vanish in the air with the two like the last time. Howl! He let out a scream of puzzlement and confusion. After all this time, you still think we are unable to develop any countermeasures? Checkmate, Miss Jaishik. Hi, bitch! Kill him, not me. I kill her, not me. Woo! Fuck you. This is the Phantom of Saint Fountain. I hate this guy so much. Oh no, that's the evolved form. Okay, I'm running the hell out of here. No! You fucking get away from me. Okay, eat my fucking goal. Susano! Tondo! Back! Weak roar. Roar! Whore. At the protection of the quantum state, the phantom finally fell down under our overwhelming attacks. Its physical composition is very unstable. It might still come back to life if we don't annihilate now. But I know what you are worried about, Ua, but this phantom is not owned too. It's nothing but a Honkai beast. If Miss Ua doesn't have the heart to end its life, leave the dirty work to me then. Elaine brushed past us and raised her deadly sight. The phantom under the sight is likely a wounded beast in a trap awaiting its doom. Sensei! A scream was heard along with the sound of metal clashing together. Bronya and her shield was knocked over by Irain's giant sight. Sensei? I suddenly thought of a detail of the intel Hua told me. It was when they first met the Phantom. When Joachim was shielding Bronya with himself, the Phantom suddenly stopped its attack and disappeared. It turns out when Bronya cried out Sensei, she was actually calling this hideous monster rather than Joachim. Stop, Irain! I shouted at the last second. To my surprise, Irain unhurriedly held her side, as if it was she had expected. Hey, expert Snoop, didn't you hear what I just said? Doctor, what is going on? This is unbelievable. I thought the serial murder and Grey Serpent's undead corpse were already uncanny, but there's actually something even more unexpected. I believe this phantom is the real Joachim, the sensei and father of the orphans before the catalysm. What a big turnout on this story. Oh my god, it's already 1 hour. Damn, not even finished yet. Goodbye. Let's hurry up. Have to edit this shit. Wanna go? Quickly. You saw it through after all. Bronya slowly hobbled over to us, leaning on Joachim. You're right, this phantom is Joachim, who was our sensei 5 years ago. What? Tut. I have a question, Om2. No, Mr. Joffrey. I remember Miss Bronya once mentioned that the failed experiment turned you into a mindless monster 5 years ago. Yes, though I don't remember anything about the experiments I experienced. I saw the horrible memories stored in this body. Silly, my big sister was killed by me. Then how did you get into this body? Come to think of it, it seemed more like a soul swap perhaps. I don't know. I really don't. This body gave me all of Sensei's memories, experience, and knowledge, except for the memory of the soul swap. All I could remember about it was a promise that Sensei made to Silly before she died. A promise? He promised to let me die as a human, even if it means he may have to exchange his soul with the devil. I shouldn't say this as a scientist, but this paranormal phenomenon seems to only make sense when devils are. Doctor, we've answered your question, so please answer our question in exchange. As long as I have the answer. I'd like to know, how did you find out about the secret of Rosemary? Find out? You overestimated me, Miss Bronya. If your sister hadn't left me those hints, I'd never have thought Flora's scents could be used as a medium of possessions. Hold, hold on. What are you talking about? What are you two talking about? In the mansion, I played some trick to make the murderer confess, which sparked off a series of unexpected events. But I haven't explained to you about the kind of magic they've used to control Grey Serpent's dead body and make the murders happen. First devil, now magic. Am I still in the real world? You're just scientists, so shut up. They might be same thing, I think. What does that mean? I once said that there was something paradoxical about the serial murder. The word rack, 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 written with blood. It's true that in many cases, the murderers intentionally left message at the crime scene to display their will. But in that case, the word actually made the Grey Serpent murdered all the insiders of the experiment to cover for himself. Story less credible. So it occurred to me, maybe the one who wrote the word was trying to reveal the real motive of the murderer. Huh. And what happened next bore out my assumption. When I was visiting Sora, I fell into a dream in which I became a strange little girl. Through her eyes, I saw what happened in a certain lab before. The cataclysm. Wait. Okay, I forgot to resume. And in the end of the dream, I heard the girl humming a certain poem. The rose is red, the violet is blue. Mary is sweet, and so are you. The rose is red, and Mary is blue. You were deceived, and so are you. Yes, it's the same poem left on Mr. Joyce's desk at his death scene. I was finally sure that the girl in my dream was real, and she had been trying to send messages to us. And obviously, Mr. Joyce had also met this girl before. He mentioned about her in his notes that I found in his room. So? Don't you fucking saw me? So it occurred to me maybe this girl was trying to tell us more. In fact, when I was in the dream, Elaine, Einstein, and Sora all saw that I walked to the window opened it and started to mutter to myself. If that behavior was also a hint, then the girl must have some sort of ability to control people's body in dream. Crazy as it may sound, it could explain all the illogical aspects of this case. Such as, Dr. Einstein, I remember you told me that you heard Mr. Joyce talking to someone else on the phone before he was killed. Yes, I assume that because I only heard his voice at the conversation proceeded. What if Mr. Joyce was in a state similar to one I was in? He could be talking to the air just like I did. It is possible. I remember Miss Bronya mentioned in her confession that Mr. Joyce's death was an accident. So I think it was because of Mr. Joyce's unconsciousness that Grey Serpent easily murdered him, and then the girl controlled Mr. Joyce's body to give Grey Serpent an unexpected stab in the back, and control Grey Serpent's body to leave the scene. Your imagination is impressive. You're a natural novelist. An ordinary detective wouldn't be trapped in common sense. But you managed to break free and even devise a method of trickery to verify your wild hypothesis. Well, at that time, I believe making you think I was going to burn down the flowers was the easiest way to reveal the uncanny truth. But what you just explained doesn't have anything to do with Rosemary. Oh, about that, it was actually also a hint from the girl. I told you she controlled me to open the window. After I woke up from the dream, I looked out of the window and saw nothing but a yard full of rosemary. which reminded me of the first time I fell into a dream about the girl, and it was when I was examining Jackal's corpse. I smelled the pleasant floral scent coming from Joachim, who was standing next to me. Then I suddenly realized that I knew that scent. I had smelled it several times. In Mr. Jones' room, on Grey Serpent's rotting body, and on Sora, who I visited after Raven's death. I see, that's how you knew Raven was killed by the possessed Sora. Not just that, the angle of the incision in Raven's throat also suggested the murderer was much shorter than her, and the height of the scarlet word on the wall also agreed with this conjecture. On top of all this, I found a familiar face in the role of the cataclysm victims that I borrowed from Dr. Einstein. The girl who made me see what happened in the lab 5 years ago must be someone from the orphanage, and I found her. Her name was Silly Volaire, who was Bronya Zaitchik's little sister and best friend in the orphanage. Thank you for elaborating, Doctor, but I don't think the girl hiding in Rosemary's scent is my sister Silly. If it really was her, then why did she reveal my plan to you while assisting me with my revenge? I see you still haven't understand. It's certainly because she loves her sister and little brother deeply. So she's been helping them while still hoping someone would find out and rescue them from the gory path of revenge. Thought. Maybe you're right, Doctor. Bronya opened her hand. There's a glowing mauve bloom in her palm. It's Rosemary, the flower of memories. Why? Why would you rather appear in other people's dreams than coming to me? If Doctor is right, if that's how you feel, if you really feel. Bronya hesitated no more. She raised the rosemary and gently kissed the delicate flat petals. Then show me. A strong fragrance diffused like a night breeze as the rosemary in Bronya's hand dissolved into red and black hues. For a moment, I seemed to see a red figure soundlessly emerge behind Bronya. She embraced Bronya's slender neck, tender figures. Oh, that's silly! If you have to stand in my way, then take my burning rage now. Oh, you're going down, silly. That's a final form. Ow! She bitch slapped me. Ow! Another bitch slap. No, I won't take another bitch slap. I just take another bitch slap. Wait. Watch out! She's consumed by hatred. Nah, not for long. Poor child, let me guide you. Oops, sidestep. Ow. Ow. Okay, time to call my Susano. Doctor. I finish him up. Chidori! It's all over. She was exhausted. She could feel the raging fury that used to control her faded gradually and vanish at last. The rosemary in her hand, which supposed to be bloom eternally, had withered and become hideous sere remains. So this is how you refuted me. By helping me vent my anger until we are both hurt and exhausted. So, this is what awaits at the end of the path of revenge, isn't it? The rain kept pouring down. Bronya weakly looked up, her eyes widened in surprise. I'm so... Her eyes openly, and that red eyes, it's scaring me, but also making me sad because of her tears. saw a clear, vivid figure. It's her friend, her sister, and her family. It's silly! Okay, take a screenshot of this. Oh, look, Silly's crying. For so many years, she's been treating this figure as just a figment of a phantom and a handy tool for her revenge. Because the phantom never smiled or spoke to her or kept her warm when the cold came, like Silly used to. But she just realized Silly has always been with her. She has just been blinded by the intense hatred in her mind. She knows it's Silly, because only Silly would shed sorrowful tears for her. Silly? Tatatat. Silly, Bronya, Joey? I've known this all along because I've been looking after the Rosemary and our memories. Though Silly cannot talk to us, she has always been with us. Ah, I'm sorry, Bronya. But rather than taking revenge, I want the three of us together. Joey, Silly. Tears ran down her cheek for the first time since she indulged herself in overwhelming desire of vengeance. She felt her real emotions, then she saw an unreal image. No, they finally found peace. No, in bright white light, a gentle, cultivated man and a girl in blue are living, hand in hand. The man looked back and waved at her with a comforting smile, as if she just perceived her gaze. Take care, dear Bronya. They said their farewell and faded away in the wild light. When she came back to her senses, she found the sere flower remains in her hand gone with the wind, and that monstrous phantom was also gone. Ah! No! So many emotions. She finally started to wail miserably. Why does every side story make have all endings like this? The Starlight one made me cry without I didn't even record it. Case closed, doctor. Yeah, the only thing left to do is deal with the two culprits, which is not the detective's job. Dr. Einstein, I think we should let Mr. Joyce decide. Ha, I didn't expect another twist in the end. How fascinating. You're making no sense, doctor. Agreed, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's okay, I'm Tesla. No need to cover for me now that I'm already exposed. What? A small figure emerged from the corner of the street. Obviously, he saw everything that just happened. Joey? It's Geoffrey Joyce. He now looks too solemn as a child, but I can see he's trying to give a friendly smile. Well, Joyce. Fuck! Another plot twist! I thought I'd been hiding well. Could you tell me when I gave myself away, Doctor? You have indeed hidden well, Mr. Joyce, but there has been a few subtle hints. The first one was the paradoxical aura you exuded when you gave testimony at Jacka's death scene. You weren't like a timid boy at all. I knew it. I'm a fan of your detective stories and I've always wanted to say lines like that, so I got carried away. But what really makes me realize that you're still alive is something more solid than an intuitive feeling. What is it? The change in Dr. Anson's attitude. The investigation once came to a dead end before Raven told us about the experiment, which provided a turnaround. And the reason why she told us was because we found the notes about the experiment and Grey Serpent in your room. What's wrong with that? I checked your bookshelf on my first search in your room. The notes weren't there at that time. And under the circumstances, the way Dr. Einstein infuriated Raven just felt too intentional. Well, I knew I wasn't good at acting. I remember clearly that when we first arrived, Dr. Einstein was loath to talk about the phantom and the catalysm. Yet she provided me those key clues that could push the investigation forward. Why such a poor act? Such a dramatic change in her attitude could only be a result of someone's instruction. And I can't think of anyone else in this manner that could order Dr. Einstein except for the deceased Mr. Joyce. I see, that's really impressive. Then what's with your situation? I wouldn't believe it if you told me you turned into a little boy for fun. Haha, that's really not the case, but I really don't know why it happened. You've already deduced the details of the murder. In fact, I don't remember anything about it. When I woke up again, I was already in this body. I have to ask, now that you're occupying this body, where is the original soul of the OM2? It doesn't exist. I'm sorry, Doctor. Had I lied to you? There was indeed two of my copies, but there is only one, OM2, which is the Geoffrey in Joachim's body. Then this body never woke up since it was made. Though its vital signs have been normal, the lack of a soul still make it defective. Anyway, I'm glad to see you're still alive, Mr. Joyce. I'm glad to meet you too, Dr. Conan Doyle. Well, then cast a glance at Bronya and Geoffrey and showed a trace of sadness. Mr. Joyce, you are my client. Now that the perpetrators have been identified, the rest is up to you to decide. I'd like to hear your suggestions, Doctor. I pondered for a moment and said in a measured tone, there were a few cases that made me realize something catching up the corpus brings more pain than the very crimes. And now I've learned to be more prudent. If I have to choose, I'd rather deceive the rules than my consciousness. I think so too. Sometimes one tragedy might lead to another, and this chain reaction may go on forever, which will eventually push everything and everyone into a hopeless abyss. The two of them already bear too much pain. I'm glad to see we are in agreement of this matter. My dear Hua, it's time for our return trip. If the train station hasn't been blown up. Hua nodded. Her reticence on occasions like this had been quite comforting to me. Wald also expressed his gratitude to Elaine. I failed to figure out the relationship between them after all. Is that it? Oh no, we had one more. Okay. One more! One more for the homie DJ's crew. One more. Oh, damn legs! Well, Joyce announced that the members of Lab 42 has secled from Schicksal and allied with the North American branch of Schicksal to form a new anti-Honkai organization named Anti-Entropy. Entropy. Is that it? Shit. I didn't expect what Joyce would have been such a huge move after that incident. But you seem to be indifferent to this shocking news. I'm used to going where the wind blows. I prefer dealing with little cases rather than huge organization and systems. Anyway, a rival organization to Schicksal sounds like the right place for Bronya and Geoffrey. I heard you just returned from a long journey. Did I tell you this? Yes, I went to the East region to take care of Raven's entrustment to me. Those orphans she adopted have been taken in by anti-entropy. I believe Mr. Joyce will take good care of them. Anyway, though this case was solved, I still don't have a clue how the possession via fluorescent and soul exchanges happened. I didn't know you'd be so obsessed with the paranormal. Before the phantom vanished, I thought I was so enraged for a moment. Oh, that's a beautiful scene. I saw Joachim and Silly living in a white light. He looked back and waved his hand as if he was thanking someone. Sounds more like he was just waving goodbye. No, my intuition told me he was expressing gratitude to someone. And for a moment you seemed to be giving them a wave, though you weren't facing them. Oh, I did. Are you sure? Of course. This serial murder happened in St. Fountain might be the most uncanny case that I could ever experience in my life. Wait. Rita, back off. And the uncanny part is... No. The Grey Serpent we saw wasn't really Grey Serpent. The Phantom wasn't a Phantom. Joachim wasn't a Joachim. Joachim wasn't Joachim. And even Geoffrey wasn't really himself. Then, is it possible that Irene Adler wasn't really Irene Adler? And Conan Dale wasn't real Conan Dale? Who are you? Who I am is not important. The real question is, who are you? I'm Yanderji. Me? I'm... You have the answers, but something seems to be clenching your throat and preventing you from voicing them out. The people and indecence in your mind are real memories, but it felt as if you're browsing through an old album inside an isolated chamber, and the next moment you fell into endless darkness. Tut tut tut. Tut. Is he awake? No, he probably needs more time. I've already helped him find himself. It's only a matter of time for him to wake up, but too many times of consciousness mapping have added too many foreign perceptions and cognitions into his mind. If this continues, sooner or later, I know that and he knows that too. But that's his choice. As for you, I find it suspicious that you actually managed to infiltrate Hyperion and seem to know everything about this guy. You're not like me or anyone else on this ship. I can feel it. To be more precise, you are more like him. Who are you? If I recall correctly, Miss Kong Ming. We made a deal a long time ago. I take him back and you let me have my own little secret. Hump, furtive woman. I've told you that my name is Rita Roswiz. Though I may not be the same Rita you used to know, I wouldn't refuse if you ever feel like snuggling up to me. You. I'll turn a blind eye to you for now, as a thank for saving him. Sounds fair. But if I ever find out about whatever you might be scheming to do on Hyperion, you can punish me however you like. I will. This bedroom is yours now. If he wakes up, tell him to meet me on the bridge when he feels better. I have a lot to say to him. I feel sorry for him. Captain. Where are you sitting? Did you hear that? She seemed to be bent out of shape. Nah. Please let me escape from reality for a while. You don't seem to be surprised seeing me here. I know you and me are the same. Can feel the thing inside you. Consciousness mapping is a complicated ability. You may want to stop using it. It synchronizes your consciousness and memories with the objects, which generates an unbearably massive info load. And the increasing amount of cognition residues left in your mind will impair your self-awareness. Is that so? I did think I was that novelist this time. If you didn't help me remember myself, I wouldn't be here. So, Rita, does that mean you... Oh, nothing. I just had a nostalgic dream when my mind was still hazy. I feel better now. I'm gonna go meet her on the bridge. Tut. Oh, la. Ha! What a reunion. So he did not recognize me at all. Classic Captain. He is always perspicacious and perceptive about anything except for his own business. But if I put on this dress for him, you think he would recognize me, Loki? Loki? Damn, the captain's dance. It was indeed a tragic scene. The merciless rain poured down, but the remaining fires were still relentlessly burning all over the ruins. The building that once one called a home had been wrecked and was almost unrecognizable. The bright full moon in the sky was witnessing everything cruelly and soundlessly. A man was standing in hell, gazing into the darkness. Life had escaped from the eyes of the petite little girl who was lying in the ruins like a discarded doll. The raging rain covered up all the noise, but the man believed she was there. Can it really save her? The man asked abruptly in a harsh but calm voice. In a moment, and melodious female voice answered him. Who knows? It brings different results to different wishes. But you have no other choice, don't you? She suddenly appeared behind him like a light dream. Her tone was still bewitching, but with less mockery. You're right, I have no other choice. He walked to the little girl and gently picked her up, like carrying a plum of smoke. She already vanished when he stood up, but he walked to the scorched flower anyway, carrying the little girl. The fire had burned down every inch of the church, let alone that clump of delicate rosemary. He looked at the flower that was once full of green and moved whose ashes and charred twigs were the only things left, with embers greedily. But he didn't hesitate. He gently put the little girl on the remains of the flowers. I will keep my promise, silly. Like a dreamy flashback, the clump of charred rosemary was instantly restored to its original beauty and delicacy. The green stems propped up the girl's body, and the minute petals softly stroked her skin. The embers embed away upon contact of the petals like a canoe being pushed back by the tide. It's their memory, an eternal sanctuary. Nothing could hurt her anymore, the man thought so with relief. Hooey! A terrible growl echoed through the rain. A giant twisted figure can be made out in the distance. He began to run towards it resolutely. Wait for me, Joffrey. Die, a human. Live on, a human. The boy's memory was hazy and fragmented. He only remembered he had a dream after he woke up. A horrible dream in which he was no longer a boy but a big ugly monster. His mouth had the taste of blood and his claws ripped open what felt like human flesh. His eyes could only see red. He felt relief waking up from the nightmare. For one instant he thought he'd be trapped in the monster forever. But still his body felt different. He lifted his hand and checked. Even though covered in mud and dirt, these big hands obviously belonged to a grown man. What happened to me? He now found his voice wrong too. It was a deep and familiar voice that he seemed to have heard every day. He panicked and got up to his feet amidst the fire and wreckage. What on earth happened to him? He stood still in this living hell and laboriously searched his memory. At last he thought of something important and began to sprint towards what was left of the church. All this was quickly taken in by the eyes of the sorceress. She was gently nipping a delicate flower with soft blue glow. The glow kept flickering in the rain as if singing the Fliriograph of the Rosemary. Okay, that's all. I have to say that was a good side story. Another good side story. And it has a lot of plot twists. I didn't like the part where Raven died, even though she's atoning for her sin, and Bronya using Silly, and wow, Silly being dead. Can't imagine that. Okay, sorry. And all of that, I hope you liked the video, and I'm sorry if this take way too long and my voice is a little not that loud because it's night. It's 3 in the morning. Wait, what? It's 3 in the morning. So I hope you like the video, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye.